On this episode of the show, I have with me Brian McMahon. He is a CEO and co-founder of Pickle. We're going to be talking about two-sided marketplaces. Obviously, it's a chicken and egg problem. We're going to talk to Brian about that. We're going to talk about the importance of maybe one side versus the other and some of the fashion and trends and how that impacts his business, the role of AI, and hopefully ask him how fundraising is going and the process in this market. Brian, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, before we start, could you tell everyone what Pickle does?
Yeah, sure. So Pickle is a rental marketplace, kind of like an Airbnb, but for things that you own. So we've started with women's clothing and accessories. We'll eventually expand into men's clothing. And then our goal is all other categories from there. And we focus on a couple main things, one being supply. So everything on the platform is kind of the latest, greatest, trendiest item, things that are really in demand. And then we just improve the accessibility of that supply. So whether it's something that's too expensive to justify purchasing for a 1 or 2 time use, or it's something that's so popular it's literally sold out everywhere else, you can still access it on Pickle. The second is convenience. So a lot of people use our door-to-door courier delivery. It kind of feels like DoorDash, but for clothes. And, it's where the name comes from. So if you're in a pickle, you can get something at the last minute. We also do, you can meet up and exchange in person, or you can use our shipping method if you're not nearby the item you're looking to rent. And then the last is community. So we have a really, building a safe, trusting, engaged community is pretty core to any peer-to-peer marketplace. It really helps us with retention, engagement, trust, and safety, kind of all that. So we've been really excited. We launched in May of 2022, and I guess we're just at the 3-year mark here now. So
fantastic.
We've been really excited.
All right, so this topic, we're going to be talking about the two-sided marketplace, right? And I think, when we think about a two-sided marketplace, there's some complexities. You mentioned the chicken and the egg. And we'll talk about the particulars of your industry as well within this context. But talk to us about launching Pickle and identifying, the gap in this two-sided marketplace. Talk to us about that at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we were launching Pickle, we had pivoted over from a different concept, and we got really excited by this notion of being able to just kind of access anything within your community at the last minute, and so as a result, we wanted to make sure that people were able to access, kind of things that they actually wanted, right? That was the most important part. So on the supply side, we were very focused on onboarding supply that was, like I mentioned earlier, cool, trendy, just very in demand. So when you launch a marketplace, you have 0 items on there, you have 0 customers, and it's all about figuring out how to get the first set. So my co-founder, Julia, went around to a couple of her cooler friends' closets and just kind of sat with them for a night and uploaded, a bunch of things into their closet to kind of get some initial stuff on, so that when people logged on, it wasn't just, a blank app. What we then did was we realized we had a unique two-sided marketplace. So whereas an Uber or a DoorDash might have participants on each side. So drivers typically drive, riders typically ride, or merchants obviously sell and consumers consume the food on DoorDash. We have lenders that will lend out items, but they also participate as renters on the other side of the marketplace. So what we thought about is, what is a group that likely has really great supply, but also a huge need for this service. And a lot of micro and nano influencers in New York City kind of fit that bucket. So what we did was we invited those micro and nano influencers to Soho for a free photo shoot. So they came with a couple different outfits that they wanted to take photos in. We then took photos. Julia would explain to them what Pickle was and kind of all the benefits of using it, where they could rent out their items and earn some passive income, but they could also have access to like all these, other really cool items that they could rent for content or events or whatever they needed it for. And so that's how we got some of the initial additional supply on there. And then, also injected the marketplace with liquidity pretty immediately, since they all had rental use cases.
Obviously, within any two-sided marketplace, I think we've heard some stories about how Uber began as well. And the two-sided marketplace of having to make sure that there is demand, in your case, supply. I mean, ingenious. Go find fashionable things within closets of people and get that started. As you kind of look at your business and your business model with this two side, is there one side, you're trying to focus on more, or can you, or should you? And yeah, maybe we'll start with that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the answer is that it depends. I mean, by and large, supply drives the marketplace forward. When you have good stuff on there, that's when people get excited about renting that stuff, and then they want to tell their friends about it, and then it really just kicks off this fast flywheel of users being extremely happy with what they were able to receive, telling their friends about it, who also come on, they rent, they upload stuff. Everyone's just a happy customer. So supply, I would say by and large, is the most important piece there. So our marketplace is kind of unique in that we focus locally because we think that that the numbers show that's where we have the highest retention. When people are renting local, they will repeat faster and be retained at a higher clip. However, we are available across the United States right now. We plug into Uber and DoorDash couriers, so pretty much anywhere where you're within around 20 miles of someone, you could use the door-to-door courier delivery. Otherwise, you could use the shipping. So I say all that to point out that there's some other markets that we are focusing on building supply in right now, namely LA and Miami. And in those markets, supply is the number one thing that we're focusing on, just getting really great high quality items on the platform, because that's what we want to be known for. We want people to be saying that they have the best stuff and it's just so easy. Whereas in New York, one thing that we're really focused on is use case expansion. So we have some really great stuff in New York. We have well over 100,000 products in New York. And we want people that came on to rent ski gear to understand that, they can rent on Pickle for the 10 weddings they have this year, or if they're going on a trip, they can rent, or if they're just going out with their friends on a Friday night. So just kind of increasing how often they rent, which is less on the supply building side, more on the demand side. But again, going back to it's really key to get that initial supply in there to drive the whole marketplace forward on the demand
Absolutely.
side.
And I guess being within
it's really key to get
fashion. You mentioned
initial supply
trends are important.
The whole marketplace forward.
If you're Uber, you're an Airbnb. Inventory is stable, right? I use that word stable because maybe you have to make sure everything's clean and tidy to hit expectations, but it's pretty stable. Expectations are stable. When it comes to fashion, everyone likes something different. People view trends differently. How do trends themselves impact the marketplace?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's actually one of the benefits of our marketplace that we point to pretty frequently. So our supply is very dynamic, and that's because we don't actually have to purchase any of the supply. So we don't own anything that's listed on Pickle right now. We have a lot of lenders that are very in tune with the trends and the trend cycles. They'll go out, they'll purchase things that they're really interested in wearing, and then they'll upload them right away to Pickle. So as soon as a trend starts on social media or just in a particular market, we have a bunch of that supply already available. We don't have to go through 8 to 10 month procurement cycles or try to predict what's going to be trendy, next fall or anything like that. Our users kind of do that for us. And it's definitely a why now component to why Pickle is working, whereas some people that have tried this concept previously weren't able to. The infrastructure and the setup around these courier delivery networks and just delivery networks in general, as well as kind of these social trends and how quick they are, and just the need to keep up with fashion cycles. But you can't just go out and buy all of this stuff. It's just too much and it's too expensive. As kind of these social trends.
I mean, I guess I'm just kind of thinking through this as you guys are expanding.
You can't just
you get more suppliers who come on, and there's more and more items in the marketplace. Does at some point this become the problem of search? Is the search become? I guess. Well, I mean, it's got to be important, but how does that factor into the effectiveness of the marketplace?
Search is very important. So, early on when, you have a couple hundred products or even a couple thousand, it's pretty easy for people to pretty much, find whatever they're looking for. If it's on the site, they've probably seen it at that point, if they're kind of in their discovery process. Once you're in the hundreds of thousands of products and, millions of products, search becomes very, very important. So, we kind of break it down into a couple different things. One is about understanding how people are coming in and discovering. There are some people that come in, they just want to go to the search bar. They know exactly what they want. They just need to go find it. They know what to search. They'll search it, and they'll kind of scroll from there. There are other people that are in more of a discovery mode, so they don't quite know exactly what the product is that they want. They have a general idea though, so they may apply some filters. They might type in some search strings, but they're still kind of in that exploration mode. And then we find that there's a lot of people that come to Pickle for inspiration. Pickle has become known as kind of where a lot of the trends start or where they live, and it has some Pinterest-esque qualities where people want to come and be inspired through Pickle, whether it's what's trending in their community, it's what their favorite pickle closets are wearing, it's what their favorite influencers have in their closet. They'll come to for a lot of those reasons. And then kind of the last piece is based off of use case. So a lot of people come to Pickle for a particular use case, whether it's a wedding, and more specifically a destination wedding versus a spring wedding versus a winter wedding, or it's some sort of a trip they're going on, whether it's a bachelorette or just a European summer trip. So providing people different ways to get into whichever flow or experience that they need to be in is top of mind for us, and something that we try to do pretty quickly, and we're always iterating upon. So providing people different ways.
I guess when you're kind of thinking about
flow or experience
search
that they
and
need
obviously
to be in is
trying
top
to
of mind for us.
trying to
and
bring the best
we try to do
options for people to the surface, right? Bubble those up, make sure they're aware of them, make sure you're making it as simple as can be. The conversation AI has to be there, because obviously you guys are collecting information about your consumers, the trends that are out there, maybe what trends they are interested in, subscribe to. How does AI factor into, I guess, just how does AI factor into your platform? More importantly, like in two-sided marketplaces, it's got to be part of the differentiation.
Absolutely. I mean, I think to first address the question related to search, a big part of where AI is able to help is with just tagging up the products. So, doing image recognition and tagging things based off of the exact type of clothing it is, and even going down to very specific details, whether it has tassels on it, for example, is something that these algorithms can do and can recognize now. So properly tagging products that they are much more easily discoverable is very important. Just right off the get-go there. As far as some other really important use cases for AI within marketplaces, and specifically two-sided marketplaces, one is with uploading supply. So we mentioned the importance of supply and onboarding supply and growing the quality of your supply as quickly as possible. The easier it is to upload the supply, obviously, the easier it is to grow your supply. So kind of similar technology to scan products that you're looking to bring onto the marketplace through image recognition again, and parse out like what are the important things to be called out in this product listing, is an area that we're using AI right now as well. And then kind of the last piece, and this one is important in most businesses in general. I think it's especially important in two-sided peer-to-peer marketplaces, is around the customer support experience. Obviously within a two-sided marketplace, especially when it's peer-to-peer, there's going to be kind of a he said, she said component. Maybe there's an issue with damage or an item that showed up that's not as described, and being able to automate the recognition of that and the understanding of what's going on in this situation to resolve it as fast as possible, and without taking up a lot of customer support resources is extremely important, and something that we're definitely working on as well. Of that and the understanding of what's
I guess maybe just
situation to resolve
as you are expanding the business, obviously it is interesting, because the concept of having someone go into their closet and pick something fashionable. You mentioned ski apparel equipment for the time of season. I mean, this could be extended to other things. Not that I want you to divulge your future plans, but it's an interesting model, because you could, I need a coffee table because I need to do something different to my house. Obviously, these are probably impractical. I mean, is there thought of where you potentially take Pickle, or are you the type of entrepreneur that's, I just focus on Pickle, execute on this particular idea, and just get it to the biggest size I can. Don't focus on where else it could go.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We there is a vision there, and we want to do everything except for houses and cars. Those are obviously being done very well right now. And our core belief is we don't need everybody on the same street all owning the same things, especially when we use those things such a little percentage of the time. So women's clothing and accessories is a very high volume use case that we're really excited to be fully focused on right now. Men's clothing accessories is obviously a pretty key expansion category from there. We've already seen people start to rent high definition cameras and other electronics, and then as well as suitcases on Pickle right now. We don't restrict what people upload, so sometimes people just upload those things and then they end up renting them out. And we're welcome to any of that. Our goal is really to listen to our customers, so it's how we've kind of gotten to where we are today, and it's how we plan to get into each of the next phases. When our customers indicate that they want something, whether it's a feature or it's an entire new category, that's when we'll start to take action on that. We're excited to see all the different things that people are interested in. I think sporting goods and equipment. People have talked about musical instruments, party supplies, home goods, lawn care and equipment, tools. The list can go on and on and on. I think a lot of ground to cover. So we're really excited about that.
Very cool.
Sporting goods.
I guess the other thing we wanted to cover on this
party supplies,
recording
goods,
is about fundraising, and
tools,
obviously things have changed in the last couple of years, and the process is still what it is. Might be a little bit harder, a little easier for some, but it is what it is. Talk to us. You mentioned obviously fundraising because you were going through it recently, so I'd love to hear some of your experiences and kind of just what you've seen as you've gone through that fundraising process yourself.
Yes, we had an interesting experience. I mean, in 2021, 2022, we could not raise at all. And then as our business grew, we were able to raise in 2023 and then again in 2025. So, and it might be common with peer-to-peer marketplaces. We had a lot of investors just really interested in seeing a year's worth of data and really just trying to understand. Okay, it's easy to get someone to download something and try it for the first time, but do they like it enough where they're coming back? And can you get enough people to like it enough where they come back? And so we launched the marketplace in May of 2022. And then we didn't end up raising until the fall timeframe of 2023. Once we were able to get a little over a year of data, show that we were able to grow our user base organically. We were able to have a very high retention rate and repeat user rate on the platform, which was all great. And then we were able to just really define the right partners. There's not everyone out there is interested in peer-to-peer marketplaces. Especially in kind of the fashion space. So, it's kind of a mix of that in there as well. And then, so that was our seed round, which was led by Kraft and FirstMark, with participation from Burst Capital as well. And then we, worked on growing the team, growing the business, and in the winter around February of 2025, so a few months ago, we were able to close our Series A. We ended up sticking with the same investors, so FirstMark, Kraft, Burst. We added FJ Labs and a few others, and we were really excited about the people we had in the room. We had really great numbers. We were about to go out to the market, and our current investors came and said, hey, we're really interested in doubling down on this, which we took as obviously an extreme compliment. We were able to figure out terms that everyone was pleased with, and it allowed us to just continue building as opposed to going on some multi-month fundraising process. And
absolutely
doubling down on this.
And I guess that's actually interesting because I think going back to the same set of investors, there's probably like you said, there's trust, it's validation. It might help you as well in the next round when you can tell people that same people invested the second time for a second round, because obviously that means they've seen something that should indicate. And just kind of to maybe touch on, you mentioned the two different fundraising opportunities. When you kind of look at it and you look at where the business is going and you just look at the climate, does that concern you? And the reason I ask is, all we hear about is obviously we hear a lot about interest rates. We hear about VC has slow down a little bit? You guys have done well, obviously, but do those things bother you as an entrepreneur, or do you have to just block out that noise and just execute?
Yeah, it really doesn't bother me. I mean, I think it's good to keep a pulse on it, and to keep a pulse on the VC industry in general. Obviously, um, if people are raising less funds, then there's less capital to go around, which just makes things even tighter. I think the only thing that you can control, though, is the quality of your business. And at the end of the day, good businesses with strong unit economics, favorable growth rates, those are going to, be able to receive the capital needed in order to continue to build something truly great. So, we've always kind of focused on how can we just be building the business. We, never really got distracted by going to a lot of events or, different networking things that seem to be happening all the time, especially in cities like New York and San Francisco. And instead, we wanted to invest the time and the hours in just building something really great. And I think that's probably the best advice to anyone raising in the market right now. Obviously, there's a certain extent to which you do have to be putting your name out there and getting connected to the right people and warm intros into the right groups. So I don't want to discount that at all. But again, at the end of the day, if you're building something that just makes a lot of sense and both from a business and a market perspective, then you'll be able to get one groups.
Fantastic, Brian. I want to thank you for coming on. I don't want to discount that at all, but if somebody does have a follow-up question based on something we spoke about, is there a good way of connecting with you to ask you that question?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm available on LinkedIn, just Brian McMahon, and just look for the guy working at Pickle.
There you go. I will definitely include that in the show notes. And again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. That's it for this episode. Be back again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm available on LinkedIn.
Until then, two things. One, obviously, a great episode around talking about the two-sided marketplace. Brian walked us through some of how they started, which was a great story, impacts of trends, AI search, and a little bit about fundraising in there as well. So share this episode with somebody else who might benefit from it. I'd appreciate that. Also, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how the show's going for you. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.